He didn't just question her, he cornered her. Senator Whitehouse exposed what the cameras weren't supposed to capture. $50,000 in FBI cash, gone without a trace, and a Justice Department pretending not to know where it went. Stay tuned, because you're about to watch power squirm under oath.
Thank you, Chairman. Ms. Bondi, good morning.
Good morning.
What became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI paid to Mr. Homan in a paper bag, evidently?
Senator, as Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review by the FBI, agents, and DOJ prosecutors. They found no credible evidence of any wrongdoing.
And that was not my question. My question was, what became of the $50,000 in cash that the FBI delivered, evidently in a paper bag, to Mr. Homan?
Senator, I'd look at your facts.
Are you saying that they did not deliver $50,000 in cash to Mr. Homan?
Senator, as recently stated, the investigation of Mr. Homan was subjected to a full review
different question.
by the FBI agents,
That's a
by
different
Department
question.
of Justice prosecutors. They found no evidence of wrongdoing.
That's a different question. What became of the $50,000? Did the FBI get it back?
Mr. Whitehouse, Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to talk to the FBI.
The report to you, can't you answer this question?
Senator Whitehouse, you're welcome to discuss this with Director Patel.
Did Homan keep the $50,000?
As Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche recently stated, the investigation of Mr.
Never mind.
Homan
I can
was
see I'm not going to get a straight
full
answer from you to a very
review
simple
by
question.
the FBI agents and the DOJ.
Do
They
you
found
know-
no credible evidence of wrongdoing. You know, you're very concerned about money and people taking money, and
Do
you
you
rail
know-
against
wait a
dark
second,
money.
wait a second, wait a
Yet you
second,
work with dark
wait a
money
second.
groups all the time, Senator
Wait a
Whitehouse.
second. Did you know whether or not in that investigation they looked at whether the $50,000 payment to Mr. Homan was declared by him on his tax returns?
Senator, I would be more concerned if I were you when you talk about corruption and money that when you pushed for legislation that would subsidize your wife's company.
The questions here are actually pretty specific, so having you respond with completely irrelevant far-right internet talking points really is not very helpful here. I'd like, Mr. Chairman, you generally like to have us be able to get answers to know, and we'll follow up with the QFR, and to the extent Patel wants to answer, that would be great as well. What happened to the $50,000? Did Homan keep it? Did the FBI get it back? If he kept it, did he put it on his tax returns? Pretty simple questions. Homan was the same guy who said there was a deal with Eric Adams. He said, if Adams doesn't come through, I'll be back. I'll be in his office, up his butt, saying, where the hell is the agreement we came to? Which brings us to the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee, because he was also involved in that transaction.
Yeah.
What became of the OPR investigation of prosecutorial misconduct by Emil Bovee?
Yeah, Senator Whitehouse, to correct you for one moment, that would be the Honorable Judge Emil J. Bovee III to you.
Not at the time of this. He was an employee of the Department of Justice. And what became of the OPR investigation?
It's
into
all
his
pending litigation,
misconduct?
Senator. I can't discuss pending litigation nor personnel matters.
OPR customarily publicly says when there's an investigation, and at the end of it, they provide a summary. Why can't you say whether there's an OPR investigation and whether, if it's concluded, there's a summary?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
Even public ones.
Senator, I'm not going to discuss personnel matters.
So, Kash Patel told this committee that his grand jury testimony after immunization, after initially pleading the Fifth, was, and I quote, sealed by the Department of Justice. How and when and why was his testimony sealed, and by whom?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss any testimony, especially testimony that could be sealed with you.
No, the question is, was it or was it not sealed?
Senator, I'm not going to discuss that with you.
Well, he also said that he worked with the Department of Justice to have his transcript released publicly. How and when was his transcript released? Presumably, if he released it publicly, that's something you can discuss because it's public.
Well, Senator, I believe you discussed that with Director Patel.
And I'm asking you because he said the Department of Justice made this decision and you run the Department of Justice.
I would refer that to Director Patel.
Even though you run the Department of Justice and he testified that the Department of Justice released his transcript publicly.
If it is released publicly, we will get you a copy, Senator, gladly.
If, being a rather important word there, when your FBI director testified that that was a fact. Treasury compiles suspicious activity reports, referred to often as SARs, that DOJ receives automatically. Hundreds related to accounts of Jeffrey Epstein. How many of those Treasury SARs did you or Director Patel investigate?
Senator, I'm not sure if you're concerned because you took money, I believe, did you, from Reid Hoffman, one of Epstein's closest confidants, not only once but twice in 2018 and 2024, if that's correct. But, Senator, did you ask Merrick Garland any of this over the last 4 years when he sat before you? This investigation has been going on. This investigation was closed. Did you ask Alex Acosta that?
And Patel came to office, you said you would look into this. There were hundreds of suspicious activity reports. Some people would deduce from the fact that they are called suspicious activity reports that there might be suspicious activity. And yet you seem to have looked at 0 of those suspicious activity reports involving Jeffrey Epstein accounts. Let me ask you something else. There's been public reporting that Jeffrey Epstein showed people photos of President Trump with half-naked young women. Do you know if the FBI found those photographs in their search of Jeffrey Epstein's safe or premises or otherwise? Have you seen any such thing?
You know, Senator Whitehouse, you sit here and make salacious remarks, once again trying to slander President Trump left and right, when you're the one who was taking money from one of Epstein's closest confidants, I believe, I could be wrong, correct me, Reid Hoffman, who was with Jeffrey Epstein on multiple occasions. And the senator sitting right next to you tried to block the flight logs from being released. Yet you're grilling me on President Trump and some photograph with Epstein? Come on.
The question is, did the FBI find those photographs that have been discussed publicly by a witness who claimed Jeffrey Epstein showed them to him? You don't know anything about that, okay? Here's what we cut to something else. The Marshal Service is supposed to protect our federal judges. I have asked repeatedly for the Marshal Service to let me know if they are investigating or being inhibited from investigating whether or not there is orchestration of threats against federal judges, whether under either conspiracy laws or racketeering enterprise laws or aiding and abetting laws, whatever. But as you know, there's the person who says the threat, and then there may very well be somebody orchestrating the threat behind them. Mm-hmm. Is the Marshal Service allowed to investigate orchestration of threats, and do you know if they've taken one step to do so?
May I answer the question, Chairman Grassley? The time has expired.
I think it's the convention of the committee that if I've started my question in my time, you may answer the question.
I was asking the chairman.
Okay, before I go to Cornyn.
She wants to answer the question, Chairman.
Oh, please go ahead. I thought you said you didn't want to answer it.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Sir. Thank you. Senator Whitehouse, I would be happy to sit down with you regarding any threat to any federal judge in this country. We take threats very seriously. I will set a meeting with you, with Director Serralta of the U.S. Marshals, and I will be there. And we will talk about any threats on federal judges.
Including orchestration.
Who threatened them or who orchestrated them.
Bingo. Thank you.
Okay. Before Cornyn speaks, I get kind of amused about my Democratic colleagues bringing up Treasury suspicious activity reports regarding Epstein. When Senator Johnson and I issued our Biden family reports in 2020, we used information from these very same type of documents. And you know what? We were criticized by our Democratic colleagues for doing so, and for years they ignored the evidence of the Biden family criminality.
What you just witnessed wasn't a Senate hearing. It was an autopsy of accountability. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse didn't come to argue. He came to exhume the truth. And the moment he asked what became of the $50,000 in cash, the entire room froze. Because that one question sliced through every layer of political theater and hit the heart of corruption itself. $50,000. Federal Bureau of Investigation sting money, delivered in a paper bag, gone without a trace. And when Whitehouse asked where it went, the Department of Justice, led by Pam Bondi, acted as if the money never existed. No credible evidence, pending litigation. Ask Director Patel. Word salads crafted to say nothing. That's not oversight. That's obstruction wrapped in politeness. You could see it in Bondi's posture. Calm, rehearsed, untouchable. She didn't answer questions. She managed them. Each deflection was a move in a silent chess game where the truth was never meant to win. Because this hearing wasn't about transparency. It was about survival. Whitehouse pressed again and again. Was the money recovered? Was it declared on tax returns? Was there an OPR investigation into prosecutorial misconduct? Every question met the same impenetrable fog of bureaucratic evasion. That's when you realize this isn't about what she doesn't know, it's about what she can't say. Because if she admits that $50,000 disappeared into a political ally's pocket, it doesn't just expose one man, it exposes the entire system protecting him. The exchange wasn't just tense, it was symbolic. It revealed the anatomy of corruption inside the institutions meant to defend justice. The Department of Justice once served as the firewall between power and abuse. Today, it's become a political shield, reflecting every accusation back toward the accuser. When Whitehouse asked direct questions, Bondi's defense mechanism wasn't logic, it was attack. She accused senators of hypocrisy, invoked dark money, dragged irrelevant names into the conversation, and used personal smears to distract from documented facts. That's not testimony, that's tactical misdirection. Because this is how corruption survives. Not through denial, but through noise. When the public hears too many half-truths, they stop trying to find the whole truth. That's the goal. Exhaust the people until apathy replaces outrage. But here's what's truly haunting. The same patterns that Senator Whitehouse exposed here, missing funds, buried investigations, sealed testimony, sealed records, all orbit the same gravitational pull of political power. When law enforcement becomes selective, justice becomes conditional. And conditional justice is no justice at all. Think about what we just learned through the evasions. A bribery case quietly shut down despite evidence on video. A prosecutorial misconduct probe buried under personnel confidentiality. Grand jury testimony sealed and released at the department's convenience. Hundreds of suspicious activity reports tied to Jeffrey Epstein's accounts ignored, completely ignored. Each of those represents a fracture in the foundation of trust. And once those fractures spread, no republic can stand stable. Ask yourself, what does it say about our system when the people who investigate crimes become the ones covering them up? When transparency becomes a threat instead of a duty? When a $50,000 paper bag payment can vanish and the official response is, talk to someone else? That's not just corruption, that's institutional rot. Bondi's behavior in that hearing told us everything about how power really works. Institutions protect themselves first. Loyalty is rewarded. Accountability is punished. And anyone asking questions, like Whitehouse, becomes the problem instead of the solution. She wasn't just avoiding one senator. She was protecting an entire power network built on silence and selective enforcement. You could feel the frustration in the room. The senator's voice, calm but burning. The staffers behind her, shuffling, looking down, waiting for the next non-answer. The chairman, cutting in just as the truth hovered close enough to touch. That's the choreography of control. But Whitehouse didn't flinch. He kept pressing, even as Bondi lobbed counter-accusations, accusing him of taking donations, of hypocrisy, of partisanship. Classic projection. Because when you can't defend the facts, you attack the questioner. And yet, amid all that deflection, one exchange stood out, almost cinematic in its irony. When asked whether the Marshals Service was allowed to investigate orchestrated threats against federal judges, Bondi paused, then finally offered cooperation. "We take threats seriously. We'll meet about it." In that moment, for the first time, She sounded almost human. Almost. Because when the subject shifted from corruption inside the system to threats against the system, she felt safe again. The mask slipped back into place, but the damage was done. That hearing captured more than one official's evasions. It captured the slow collapse of public faith in justice. The idea that power can act without consequence, that evidence can disappear, that testimony can be sealed indefinitely, that Epstein's money trail can vanish while ordinary Americans get crushed for a missing tax form. That double standard is the disease eating this country from within, and it's not a partisan issue. It's a constitutional one. Because if the DOJ becomes a political weapon, then every citizen becomes a potential target. If accountability is selective, freedom becomes conditional. And that's why moments like this matter, because they remind us that democracy isn't destroyed in one headline. It erodes in hearings like this, under fluorescent lights, where silence replaces answers and truth drowns in protocol. Pam Bondi may have survived the hearing, but she didn't win it, because every time she dodged a question, every time she hid behind procedure, the American people learned one thing. The truth is something they're trying to keep from you. So here's the takeaway. Power doesn't fear opposition, it fears exposure. It fears a public that's awake, angry, and unwilling to forget. And that's where you come in. If you believe justice should belong to the people, not the powerful, don't let this clip die in your feed. Share this video, subscribe for the next breakdown, keep the conversation alive, because when institutions fail to protect the truth, only the people can. And as long as we keep watching, questioning, and refusing to be silent, justice isn't dead yet. Stay loud, stay sharp. The Constitution doesn't defend itself, we do.